People always warn you that marriage takes patience, sacrifice, and a steady kind of love. What they don't say is what to do when you're the only one giving all three. I believed I had chosen right. A kind husband, welcoming in-laws, and a future I could build with my own two hands. But the man you promise your life to can be a stranger once real life starts pressing in. This is the story of how I became a mother, lost the man I thought I had, uncovered the truth, and chose peace over pretending. My name is Aaliyah Carter. I'm 30 years old, a communications consultant on maternity leave. Up until a year ago, my life looked picture perfect. I was married to Malik Jordan, charming, funny, and at least on the surface, devoted. We met at a late summer rooftop party in Harlem, thrown by mutual friends. He cracked jokes while strumming an old guitar, a little off-key but making everyone laugh. When I shivered in the evening breeze, he slipped his jacket over my shoulders without a word. Our whirlwind romance felt like a movie. He proposed not under the Eiffel Tower but beneath a canopy of magnolia trees in Savannah, the branches strung with fairy lights. I said yes before he even finished the question. His parents, Raymond and Denise, embraced me instantly. Denise called me her bright star. Raymond teased that he finally had someone sharp enough to keep Malik in check. My parents adored him too. When we married, both families pooled their savings to help us buy a cozy brick townhouse on a quiet street in Baltimore. For a while, it was everything I thought I wanted. Then I got pregnant, and the edges of that perfect picture started to curl. Malik said he was thrilled, promised he'd work longer hours at his tech security firm, promised he'd be there for every appointment. But the more my belly grew, the more he disappeared. At first, I made excuses, deadlines, traffic, stress, but the nights stretched longer. His replies got shorter. He'd mutter, "Do what you need to," pour himself a drink, and disappear into another room. When the tension finally snapped, it wasn't with a fight, it was with silence. My brother, Caleb, showed up an hour after my text. He didn't ask questions, just grabbed my hospital bag from the hallway, tossed a blanket on the passenger seat, and cranked up the heat. We drove through dark streets in wordless quiet until we reached my parents' door. My mom opened it, eyes already brimming. She didn't say a word, just folded me into her arms and held on until my trembling eased. My old bedroom had been turned into her sewing space, but within hours she transformed it back. Soft sheets, a flickering night light, and lavender filling the air. The next morning, my dad came in with warm grits, scrambled eggs, and honey lemon tea. He set the tray down, sat on the edge of the bed, and said softly, "You don't have to go back." I didn't answer. I didn't know yet. 3 weeks passed without a word from Malik. Not a call, not a text. Just silence. I sent Malik one update during those weeks, a picture from my ultrasound showing our daughter's tiny profile. He saw it but never replied. Then one afternoon, the doorbell rang. Standing on the porch were Raymond and Denise, looking like they'd aged years overnight. Denise pulled me into a hug before I could speak. "Aaliyah, baby, we had no idea. Malik told us you were away on a work trip." Raymond shook his head, shame heavy in his eyes. "We only found out when we stopped by with groceries, and you weren't home." We made him tell us the truth. They stayed for nearly an hour, bringing fresh produce, soft baby blankets, and a potted lavender plant Denise insisted would help me sleep. "Your family," she whispered. "You don't go through this alone." Their kindness cracked me open. I'd braced myself for judgment, but what I got was comfort. Still, comfort couldn't erase Malik's absence, his coldness, his sudden unraveling into someone I no longer recognized. Deep down, I knew I couldn't return to that house. Maybe not ever. It was the first week of March when Malik finally reappeared. No warning, no text, just the sound of the bell ringing like nothing had happened. I opened the door, hand pressed to my aching lower back, 7 months pregnant and exhausted. He looked thinner, his shirt rumpled, still wearing that overpowering cologne he thought covered up the mess beneath. "I'm sorry," he said quickly. "I was wrong. I didn't mean to push you away." I folded my arms. "You didn't push me away, Malik. You left me." His eyes dropped to the floorboards. I didn't know how to handle it. Work, stress, the baby, it all got too loud. I didn't mean to shut down. "But you did," I said flatly. "I want to fix this." His voice cracked with desperation, and for a flicker of a moment, it almost sounded real. Almost. I didn't agree, and I didn't slam the door either. I told him I'd only think about coming back after the baby was born, not before. He nodded, though I wasn't sure he understood. That rainy Thursday in late April, our daughter arrived. 13 hours of labor, 3 hours of pushing, and finally her cry filled the room. I named her Imani. She had my nose, Malik's dimple, and a grip in her tiny fist that made me believe she was born strong. Malik missed the delivery. Claimed traffic. He showed up in time to hold her once and pose for the hospital photo. For a fleeting heartbeat, I let myself believe maybe this was our restart. But I was wrong. When Imani came home, her nursery glowed with pastel colors and dreams I had built alone. Malik lasted barely a week before retreating back into late nights and unanswered messages. Just one more project, he said. They need me right now. Imani had colic. She cried through the night until my body shook from exhaustion. I nursed her, rocked her, and wept in the shower while Malik typed away on his laptop in the next room. He stopped offering help, stopped asking how I felt, but never stopped expecting dinner on the table. "You've got this, babe," he'd mutter, stepping over toys with his travel mug in hand. But I didn't. I was breaking, and I was starting to see clearly. Malik wasn't overwhelmed. He was uninterested. He wasn't tired. He was gone, even when he was standing right there. Saturday hit me like a wave I couldn't fight. Malik's parents were coming for lunch, and he wanted everything perfect. I was still bleeding from delivery, surviving on 2 hours of broken sleep and reheated coffee. Imani had been crying since 3 in the morning, her little body restless and inconsolable. By 9, I was in the kitchen, tears slipping down my cheeks while I tried to force myself through a casserole I never finished. Malik left early, tossing over his shoulder, "Don't put out store-bought junk, Aaliyah. I want this to look like we've got it together." We didn't. By 11, desperation took over. I called a nearby gourmet deli and begged them for a last-minute order. Platters of smoked turkey, roasted vegetables, marinated olives, herb breads, spreads, anything to make it look polished. On the way back, I grabbed tulips from a corner flower stall. By noon, the food was laid out neatly, baby monitor clipped to my waistband, hair still damp from a rushed shower. That's when the doorbell rang. I braced myself for judgment. Instead, Denise and Raymond stepped in smiling, arms full. "Surprise," Denise said warmly. "We thought you could use backup." Raymond held up a familiar bag. "Stopped by Malik's favorite deli. Figured you'd appreciate a break." My knees nearly gave way. They swept through the kitchen like sunshine after a storm. Denise scooped Imani into her arms and rocked her with ease while Raymond opened wine and unpacked more food. When I told them I'd already ordered from the same deli, Denise laughed. "Then it's a feast." "Good. I wish somebody had done this for me when Malik was born." She looked closer at me, noticing the shadows under my eyes. "Aaliyah, you haven't slept, have you?" I shook my head, embarrassed. She didn't scold me. She just nodded toward the couch. "Lie down. We've got this." I sank into the cushions, lulled by the quiet hum of Raymond humming and the soft coos Denise made at Imani. For the first time in weeks, I exhaled, until I heard the keys in the lock. Malik's voice sliced through the calm like a blade. "Seriously? You're napping right now?" I blinked, groggy, as he held up one of the platters I had arranged. "What is this? You ordered food? I told you to cook." My chest tightened. "Your parents brought it." He narrowed his eyes. "You're lying." "No, Malik. Your dad brought them." A voice cut in, firm and low. "She's not lying." Raymond stepped into the hall, wineglass in hand. Denise followed, Imani nestled in her arms. Malik froze. "Where'd you bought this?" "Yes," Raymond said evenly. Denise picked it out. Malik's mouth opened, then closed again. "I just thought." "No," Denise interrupted, her voice sharp. "You didn't think. You accused your wife in front of us and your child." Malik gave a weak laugh. "I didn't mean it like that." Raymond's face hardened. "That excuse doesn't work anymore." Then, as silence fell, Malik's phone buzzed twice on the counter. Denise glanced at the screen. Her face went still. She picked it up and read aloud. "You left your hoodie and lighter. Can't wait for next time. Signed, Tasha." The room went silent. Even Imani stopped fussing. This wasn't about food anymore, or chores, or exhaustion. This was betrayal, undeniable and raw, laid bare in front of all of us. "Who's Tasha?" Denise asked, her tone ice cold as she held up the glowing phone like evidence in a courtroom. Malik's face drained of color. He reached for the phone, stammering. "It's not what it looks like." "Then explain it," Raymond demanded, his arms crossed, jaw so tight a vein pulsed at his temple. "It's just someone from work," Malik muttered. "We've been talking, that's all." "Talking?" My voice came out distant, almost hollow. "While I was pregnant, while I was sick and alone, you were talking." "It didn't mean anything," he snapped. "We were fighting. I was lonely, it just happened." Raymond stepped closer. "She was carrying your daughter. And you were cheating." Denise shook her head, her voice breaking. "God, I defended you. I told Aaliyah you were stressed, that you'd come around. And this is what you were doing. Lying to all of us." "I was under pressure," Malik shouted suddenly. "She left me first." I straightened, my hands trembling but steady enough to hold my truth. "I left to survive. You made our home unbearable." Denise turned to me. "Do you want him out?" The answer was already in my chest. I nodded. "Tonight." Malik's jaw dropped. "You can't be serious. You're throwing me out of my own house." Raymond didn't argue. He disappeared down the hall and returned moments later carrying Malik's gym bag, zipped and ready. He set it down hard on the floor. "You forfeited this place," I said. My voice didn't shake this time. "This isn't your house. It's Imani's, and I won't let you poison it." Malik's eyes darted from me to his mother. "Mom, tell her." Denise's reply came without hesitation. "You're our son, but that doesn't make you right." The look on his face was one of a man falling off a cliff he never saw coming. But the truth was, he'd already hit bottom. He just hadn't realized it yet. They walked him out. I didn't follow. Instead, I held Imani close, rocking her in the soft glow of her nursery lamp. Downstairs, the sound of the front door closing echoed like the end of a chapter one knew I'd never reopen. 3 days later, Denise and Raymond returned. No Malik this time. Just a manila folder and solemn faces. "He signed everything," Raymond said simply. Inside was the divorce agreement, full custody papers, child support details, all finalized. Denise slid an envelope across the table. "This is from us," she said softly, "to make sure you and Imani are safe. Comfortable." Inside was a check that made my knees buckle. "I can't accept this," I whispered. "You're not taking it from him," Raymond said firmly. "You're taking it from people who believe in you. And in Imani. It wasn't just money. It was freedom. And I accepted it." Malik didn't fight the divorce. He didn't show up to mediation, didn't argue over custody. He just signed it all away. Later, I heard through one of his old coworkers that Tasha cut him off the moment she learned he wasn't just some bachelor with late nights, he was a father. The word baby sent her running, and she blocked his number like he never existed. Word spread through his office. HR quietly reassigned him to grunt work, no bonuses, no promotions, no big projects to brag about. His parents stepped in and cut off his access to the family accounts. No credit cards, no endless streaming, no luxury. Raymond put him on a weekly allowance, just enough for gas and groceries. "If he wants trust back, he'll have to earn it," he said. Meanwhile, Imani and I stayed with my parents through the spring. My mom took night shifts with the baby when she could. My dad transformed the guest room into a sanctuary, blackout curtains, a rocking chair, and a shelf stacked with bedtime stories from when I was little. They never once said, "We told you so." They just held me up while I learned how to stand again. When I returned to work, my manager welcomed me back with flowers and a flexible schedule. No interrogation, just, "We're glad you're here." By summer, I found us a small 2-bedroom apartment on a quiet block in Philadelphia. The rent was modest, the light was soft, and the park across the street filled the mornings with birdsong. Caleb helped me move in. My mom stocked the fridge. My dad installed a second lock and built a toy shelf for Imani. I hung twinkle lights in her room and framed a photo of the two of us, her squinting at the camera, me smiling crooked and tired. I called the place ours, not mine, and for the first time in years I could breathe. One afternoon, while sipping tea in the stillness of our new kitchen, I realized something. The silence no longer felt lonely. It felt peaceful. It felt earned. People sometimes ask if I miss being married. I always pause, sip my coffee and say, no, I miss the fantasy, the version of Malik I built from charm and promises. But the marriage itself, I don't miss folding laundry with tears on my cheeks, or cooking dinner for a man glued to his phone while I healed from childbirth. I don't miss apologizing for being tired. What I do miss is the woman I once imagined I'd become. But I don't mourn her anymore. Because I know now she didn't fail. She survived. Every time regret tries to creep in, I look at Imani. I remember why I left. I remember the look on Malik's face when his father handed him that duffel bag and said, "You're out." That was the moment the story shifted. Since then, I've learned to live with less fear and more clarity. I say no without guilt. I ask for help without shame. I trust myself, even when I tremble. Denise still texts me the first of every month to confirm Imani's support has arrived. She never misses. Raymond brings books, coloring sets, and swears he'll teach her to ride a bike better than Malik ever could. They don't call it babysitting. They call it time with family. At work, colleagues invite me to lunch again. Clients smile when Imani babbles in the background of a Zoom call. Our apartment smells like lemon balm and baby lotion. The fridge is covered in sticky notes that say things like, "You're doing great," and "Sleep is temporary." Sometimes, when Imani is asleep, I write her letters. Letters that remind her she is never a burden, that she made me brave. And every one ends the same way. This ends with me. The silence, the shrinking, the forgiving too much. I packed a bag, I carried you out, and I never looked back. Because our story deserves better. And I will always choose better for you.